Some stories begin with a gentle hello, others with a sudden, heart-stopping moment. This one began with a barca, sharp, urgent sound that cut through the noise of a crowded airport and changed the lives of everyone who heard it. It was a typical Monday morning at the bustling city airport. The terminal was alive with the sounds of rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, and the chatter of travelers from all walks of life. Families hurried to their gates, business people checked their watches, and children clung to stuffed animals as they gazed wide-eyed at the planes outside. Among the crowd was Officer Ryan Keller, a seasoned canine handler with the airport police. At his side trotted Shadow, a sleek German shepherd with intelligent eyes and a reputation for being the best sniffer dog on the force. Shadow was more than just a partner. He was a hero, credited with finding missing children, intercepting smugglers, and even saving lives. But today he seemed restless, his nose twitching as he scanned the sea of travelers. Ryan trusted Shadow's instincts more than anything. The dog had a sixth sense for trouble, and Ryan had learned long ago never to ignore his partner's signals. As they patrolled the terminal, Shadow's ears perked up, and he began to pull on his leash, weaving through the crowd with purpose. At gate 17, a young couple stood beside a stroller, their baby girl bundled in a pink blanket, her tiny fists waving in the air. The parents looked tired but happy, chatting quietly as they waited for their boarding call. The mother, Anna, gently rocked the stroller, humming a lullaby. The father, Mark, checked their tickets for the third time, his nerves on edge from the stress of travel. Suddenly, Shadow stopped in his tracks. His body tensed. His nose lifted, and he let out a low, warning growl. Ryan followed his gaze to the stroller, where the baby cooed and kicked her feet. Without warning, Shadow lunged forward, slipping free from Ryan's grip for the first time in his career. The crowd gasped as the police dog leapt onto the stroller, barking furiously. The baby's parents screamed, pulling their child close as officers rushed to the scene. Travelers scattered, some filming on their phones, others shouting for security. Ryan's heart pounded as he reached for Shadow, calling his name. But the dog was relentless, pawing at the stroller, his nose pressed to the fabric as if searching for something hidden. The baby began to cry, her wails echoing through the terminal. "Get your dog away from my child," Anna sobbed, clutching her daughter to her chest. Mark stepped between them and the dog, his face pale with fear and anger. Ryan managed to grab Shadow's collar, pulling him back. "Easy, boy. What is it? What's wrong?" he whispered, searching his partner's eyes for answers. The officers formed a circle around the family, trying to calm the parents and the crowd. The airport manager arrived, demanding an explanation. "What's going on here? Why is your dog attacking a baby?" Ryan shook his head, his mind racing. Shadow had never acted this way before. He was trained to detect drugs, explosives, and even missing persons. But never had he shown aggression toward a child. As the tension mounted, Shadow barked again, his eyes locked on the stroller. He pawed at the side, whining urgently, refusing to back down. Ryan knelt beside his partner, his voice trembling. "What is it, Shadow? What are you trying to tell me?" The crowd watched in stunned silence, the air thick with fear and confusion. The baby's cries grew louder, her parents' panic rising. And then, as Ryan reached for the stroller, Shadow let out a bark so sharp and insistent that it sent chills down everyone's spine. What happened next would stun everyone in the terminal and reveal a secret that would change the lives of the family, the officers, and the entire airport forever.
The terminal was frozen in a moment of collective disbelief. Travelers stood on tiptoe, craning their necks to see what the commotion was about. Some whispered anxiously, others filmed with their phones. But all eyes were on the small family and the police dog who refused to let go of the stroller. Anna clutched her baby, her hands trembling. Mark's voice shook as he pleaded with the officers. "Please, our daughter is just a baby. She's never been in trouble. We've never." His words trailed off, lost in the chaos. Officer Ryan Keller's mind raced. He knew Shadow better than anyone. The dog was a legend on the force, famous for his calm under pressure and his uncanny ability to sense danger. Shadow had once found a missing child in a blizzard, had sniffed out explosives hidden in a suitcase, and had even detected a diabetic's blood sugar crash before the man himself knew he was in trouble. But never, not once, had Shadow ever shown aggression toward a child. Ryan knelt beside Shadow, his hand resting gently on the dog's back. "Easy, boy. Show me," he whispered, trusting his partner's instincts. Shadow's nose pressed insistently against the stroller's side, then darted to the storage basket underneath. He whined, pawing at the fabric, his body tense with urgency. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The airport manager, a stern woman named Ms. Grant, stepped forward. "Officer Keller, your dog is out of control. If you can't restrain him, I'll have to call animal control." Ryan shook his head, his voice steady but urgent. "Please, just give us a moment. Shadow's never wrong. If he's reacting like this, there's a reason." Anna's eyes filled with tears. "We haven't done anything. Please, just let us go. Our flight is boarding soon." Mark tried to shield the stroller, but Shadow barked again, louder this time, drawing the attention of a nearby TSA supervisor. The supervisor, a tall man named Officer Lewis, approached with a handheld scanner. "Let's check the stroller," he said, his tone gentle but firm, "just to be safe." Reluctantly, Anna stepped aside, her arms wrapped protectively around her baby. Mark's jaw clenched as he watched the officers inspect the stroller. Officer Lewis ran the scanner over the frame, the basket, and the seat. The device beeped once, then fell silent. "Nothing," Lewis said, glancing at Ryan. "Maybe your dog made a mistake, but Shadow wouldn't give up." He pawed at the basket again, whining desperately. Ryan's heart pounded. He trusted Shadow with his life. He knew the dog was trying to tell him something. Ryan turned to Anna and Mark. "I know this is frightening, but please, has anyone else handled your stroller today? Did you leave it unattended, even for a moment?" Anna shook her head, her voice barely a whisper. "No, never. We've been with her the whole time." Mark hesitated, then spoke. "Well, I did go to the restroom earlier. I left the stroller with Anna, but she went to get coffee. It was only for a minute, I swear." A flicker of realization crossed Ryan's face. "That's all it takes," the crowd murmured, the tension rising. Some people began to take sides, some defending the family, others insisting the officers check again. A few parents pulled their children closer, fear etched on their faces. Shadow barked again, his nose pressed to a seam in the stroller's basket. Ryan reached down, feeling along the fabric. His fingers brushed against something hard, something that didn't belong. He looked up at Officer Lewis. "Help me check this seam." Together they carefully opened the lining. Inside, hidden between the layers of fabric, was a small, tightly wrapped package. The officers exchanged shocked glances. Anna gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark's face went pale. Ryan's hand shook as he unwrapped the package. Inside was a bundle of white powder carefully sealed, expertly hidden. The crowd erupted in gasps and shouts. Some people backed away, others pressed closer, desperate to see what was happening. Anna sobbed, clutching her baby. "We didn't put that there. I swear, we didn't." Mark shook his head, his voice breaking. "We would never, please. You have to believe us." Ryan's mind raced. He believed them. He'd seen enough to know when someone was lying. But the evidence was damning, and the stakes were higher than ever. Shadow sat beside the stroller, his eyes fixed on Ryan, as if urging him to look deeper. The officers called for backup. The family was escorted to a private room for questioning. The stroller was taken as evidence. The crowd slowly dispersed, but the story spread like wildfire through the airport. As Ryan led Shadow away, his mind churned with questions. Who had put the package in the stroller? Why target this family? And what else was hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary day? Shadow nudged Ryan's hand, his eyes full of trust. Ryan squeezed his partner's ear, whispering, "Good boy. We're not done yet. The real investigation was just beginning." The private interview room was cold and sterile, its fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Anna sat in a chair, her baby cradled in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Mark paced the small space, his hands shaking. Officer Ryan Keller stood by the door, Shadow at his side, both of them alert and watchful. Across the table, Officer Lewis reviewed the evidence bag containing the mysterious package. "We have to ask you again," he said gently. "Did you know anything about this? Did anyone approach you, offer to help with your bags, or act suspiciously?" Anna shook her head, her voice barely audible. "No, we don't know anything about it. We just want to go home." Mark's voice was raw with emotion. "We're not criminals. We're just parents. Please, you have to believe us." Ryan watched the couple closely. He saw the fear in their eyes, the confusion, the heartbreak. He trusted his instincts and Shadow's. Something about this didn't add up. Shadow, meanwhile, was restless. He paced the room, sniffing the stroller, then the diaper bag, then the baby's blanket. He whined, pawing at the stroller's frame again, as if insisting there was more to find. Officer Lewis frowned. "He's still reacting. Maybe we missed something." Ryan nodded. "Let's check the stroller again." Every inch they brought the stroller back into the room and began a meticulous search. Ryan ran his hands along every seam, every pocket, every hidden compartment. Shadow sniffed and pawed, his nose leading the way. Suddenly, Shadow stopped at the back of the stroller, where a small zipper was nearly invisible beneath the fabric. Ryan unzipped it, his heart pounding. Inside, he found a second package, this one, smaller, wrapped in black tape. He carefully opened it. Inside was a tiny, blinking device. Officer Lewis's eyes widened. "Is that—" Ryan nodded grimly. "A GPS tracker," Anna gasped. "Why would someone put that in our stroller?" Mark's face went white. "Are we being followed?" Ryan's mind raced. The drugs were bad enough, but a tracker meant something more, a larger plot, a deeper danger. He turned to Officer Lewis. "We need to check the security footage, see who was near the stroller when it was unattended." Lewis nodded and left the room, leaving Ryan with the family in shadow. Anna rocked her baby, her voice trembling. "What's happening to us?" Ryan knelt beside her, his tone gentle but firm. "I believe you. I don't think you put those things in the stroller, but someone did, and we're going to find out who." Shadow sat at Anna's feet, his eyes soft. The baby reached out, her tiny hand brushing the dog's fur. For a moment, the tension in the room eased. Meanwhile, in the airport security office, Officer Lewis and the TSA supervisor reviewed hours of footage. They watched as Mark left the stroller with Anna, then as Anna stepped away to get coffee. In the brief window when the stroller was unattended, a man in a gray hoodie approached. He glanced around, then knelt beside the stroller, his hands moving quickly. Seconds later, he disappeared into the crowd. Lewis froze the frame, zooming in on the man's face. "We've got him," he said, picking up the phone. Back in the interview room, Ryan's phone buzzed. He listened, his expression growing grim. They found someone on the cameras, a man in a gray hoodie. He planted the packages. Anna burst into tears, relief and fear mingling in her sobs. Mark slumped into a chair, his head in his hands. Ryan squeezed Anna's shoulder. "You're not in trouble, you're victims. We're going to protect you." Shadow barked softly as if in agreement. The officers moved quickly. An alert was sent out for the suspect. The airport went on high alert, and plainclothes officers fanned out through the terminal. Within an hour, the man in the gray hoodie was spotted near a baggage carousel. He tried to run but was tackled by security and taken into custody. In his backpack, they found more drugs, several fake passports and a list of flight numbers including Anna and Mark's. The truth was clear. The family had been targeted by a smuggling ring, chosen at random to be unwitting couriers. The GPS tracker was meant to help the smugglers retrieve the drugs after the family cleared security. The officers returned to the interview room, their faces grave but relieved. "You're safe now," Lewis told Anna and Mark. "We caught the man who did this. You're not alone." Anna hugged her baby, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. Mark shook Ryan's hand, his voice choked with emotion. Thank you for believing us." Ryan smiled, glancing at Shadow. "Don't thank me, thank him. He's the real hero." Shadow wagged his tail, basking in the praise. The news spread quickly through the airport. Travelers who had witnessed the chaos now watched as the family was escorted to a private lounge, safe and protected. Officers patted Shadow on the head, calling him a hero. The crowd, once fearful and suspicious, now cheered for the dog who had saved a baby's life. But as the adrenaline faded, Ryan knew the story wasn't over. The smuggling ring was still out there, and the family would need protection. He vowed to see it through, no matter what it took. For now, though, there was relief, gratitude, and a sense of awe at the dog who had seen what no one else could.
The airport, once buzzing with routine, now pulsed with a new energy. News of the police dog's heroism spread from gate to gate, whispered by travelers and staff alike. Some called home to share the story, others posted videos online, and within hours, the incident was trending on social media. But for Anna, Mark, and their baby, the ordeal was far from over. In the private lounge, Anna rocked her daughter, her hands still trembling. Mark paced, his nerves frayed. Officer Ryan Keller and Shadow stayed close, a reassuring presence in the midst of chaos. The family was safe for now, but the questions kept coming. Why had they been targeted? Was it truly random, or was there something more sinister at play? Detectives arrived to take statements. Anna and Mark recounted every detail: where they'd been, who they'd spoken to, how long the stroller had been left unattended. The officers listened carefully, piecing together the timeline. Meanwhile, Shadow lay at the baby's feet, his eyes never leaving the door. The man in the gray hoodie, now in custody, refused to speak, but the evidence was overwhelming. Fingerprints on the stroller, surveillance footage, and the contents of his backpack. The smuggling ring's method was clear plant contraband on unsuspecting families. Track them through the airport, and retrieve the goods after security. It was a scheme that had likely succeeded before, but not this time. As the investigation deepened, another twist emerged. The GPS tracker found in the stroller was linked to a string of similar incidents at airports across the country. The authorities realized they were dealing with a sophisticated network, one that had evaded capture for months. The case grew larger, drawing in federal agents and airport security teams from other cities. Anna and Mark were placed under protective watch. The officers explained that, while the immediate threat was gone, the smugglers might try to silence witnesses or recover their lost cargo. The family's relief was tempered by fear. They had never imagined a simple trip could turn into a nightmare. Ryan did his best to comfort them. "You're safe here. We won't let anything happen to you. Shadow will stay with you as long as you need." Anna managed a weak smile. "I don't know what we would have done without you, or him." Mark nodded, his gratitude clear. "He saved our daughter's life. We can never repay that." Shadow, sensing the emotion, nuzzled the baby's hand. She giggled, the sound a bright spot in a dark day. Meanwhile, the airport community rallied around the family. The airline offered to rebook their flight. The airport manager arranged for a hotel suite, and strangers sent messages of support. The story of the police dog who had saved a baby from a hidden danger touched hearts everywhere.
But the emotional climax came the next morning, when Anna and Mark were called to the airport's main hall. They are surrounded by officers, staff, and travelers. Shadow was honored in a small ceremony. The police chief presented him with a medal, praising his bravery and intuition. Ryan knelt beside his partner, pride shining in his eyes. "You did good, Shadow. You did real good." The crowd applauded, some wiping away tears. Anna and Mark hugged Ryan, their gratitude overflowing. The baby reached for Shadow, her tiny fingers grasping his fur. For a moment, all the fear and uncertainty melted away, replaced by hope and joy. But even as the family celebrated, the investigation pressed on. The authorities tracked down other victims, uncovered more evidence, and dismantled the smuggling ring piece by piece. The case made national headlines, and Shadow's heroism became a symbol of vigilance and courage. For Anna and Mark, the experience left scars but also a deep appreciation for the kindness of strangers and the loyalty of a remarkable dog. They knew their lives would never be the same, but they faced the future with newfound strength. And for Ryan and Shadow, the bond between handler and dog grew even stronger. They had faced danger together, trusted each other when it mattered most, and saved a life. It was a day neither would ever forget. As the sun set over the airport, casting long shadows across the tarmac, the family prepared to continue their journey forever changed, but safe, thanks to a dog who refused to ignore his instincts. The days that followed brought a gentle transformation to the airport and to everyone touched by the story. The main terminal, once just a place of hurried goodbyes and anxious hellos, now felt different. There was a sense of pride in the air, a quiet reminder that even in the busiest, most impersonal places, acts of courage and compassion could change everything. Anna, Mark, and their baby were finally able to board a new flight, this time escorted by officers and with Shadow and Ryan seeing them off. The airline upgraded their seats, and the captain made a special announcement, wishing them a safe journey and thanking the airport police for their vigilance. Passengers applauded, some even standing to shake Anna and Mark's hands as they passed. Before leaving, Anna knelt beside Shadow, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, boy. You're our hero." Mark hugged Ryan, his voice thick with emotion. "You believed us when no one else did. We'll never forget it." Ryan smiled, scratching Shadow behind the ears. "He's just doing his job, but I think he likes the attention." The airport staff, inspired by the events, began new training sessions on vigilance and kindness. Security teams reviewed their protocols, determined to prevent such incidents in the future. The airport manager, Ms. Grant, who had once doubted Shadow, publicly praised the K9 unit and called for more resources to support their work. Shadow's story spread far beyond the airport. News outlets ran features on his heroism, and social media was flooded with messages of gratitude and admiration. Children sent drawings and letters, some addressed simply to Shadow, the hero dog. The police department received donations for the K9 program, and Shadow was invited to visit schools, where he became a living lesson in bravery and loyalty. For Ryan, the experience deepened his bond with Shadow. He realized that trust between handler and dog, between officers and the public, was the foundation of every act of heroism. He spoke at community events, sharing the story and encouraging others to trust their instincts, to look out for one another, and to never underestimate the power of a single, determined voice or bark. Anna and Mark, once just another family in the crowd, became advocates for airport safety and awareness. They shared their story in interviews, always crediting Shadow and the officers who stood by them. Their baby, blissfully unaware of the danger she'd faced, grew up with a story that would be told and retold, a story of a dog who saved her life, and a community that came together in a moment of crisis. The airport itself changed, too. Staff and travelers alike became more attentive, more willing to speak up if something seemed wrong. The story of Shadow's leap into the stroller became a legend, a reminder that sometimes, the smallest details can make the biggest difference. As the months passed, Shadow continued his work, sniffing out threats and comforting nervous travelers. He wore his medal with pride, but it was the gentle pats from children and the grateful smiles from parents that meant the most to him. Ryan knew that, for all the headlines and honors, the real reward was the life they had saved and the hope they had inspired. On the anniversary of that unforgettable day, the airport held a celebration. Officers, staff, and families gathered to honor Shadow and the K9 unit. Anna, Mark, and their now toddling daughter returned, bringing a homemade card and a new collar for Shadow. The little girl, no longer a baby, toddled over to Shadow and hugged him, giggling as he licked her cheek. Ryan looked around at the faces, some familiar, some new, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. He knew that the world could be a frightening place, but as long as there were people and dogs willing to stand up for what was right, there was always hope. As the sun set over the runways, casting golden light through the terminal windows, Ryan knelt beside Shadow and whispered, "Ready for our next adventure, partner?" Shadow wagged his tail, eyes bright, ready for whatever came next. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, sometimes the greatest heroes walk on four paws. Trust your instincts, look out for each other, and never underestimate the power of courage no matter where you find it, because sometimes, a single bark can change the world.